All right, hopefully you guys have seen Khalil on the channel before, if you've been watching for a while. He used to be around quite a bit. He works next door at Leichtbau.
I've just been busy.
And works here when I beg to interrupt what they're doing at Leichtbau.
Happily helping.
Which today the roles are reversed because he needs a hand going to pick up a car from the Long Beach port that we didn't get today. Don't tell him what it is yet, but I don't know, give him a hint.
It's from the 90s.
That's not even a good hint.
And it's awful cars that I'm just like addicted to for some
if you know him, now you know what it is. We're going to Long Beach. We're going to pick this thing up. It's going to be sick. Let's go. Now, this is going to be a first for all of us. We're obviously all European car guys, but we've never imported a vehicle from Europe, and there's a serious distinction there. As you guys already know thanks to the thumbnail, today we're picking up an E36 Touring, a vehicle that was never sold in North America. And we have no idea what the pickup process is even going to be like, other than we know the car is out of fuel and has a dead battery. Otherwise though, it's supposed to be ready for pickup, so we're headed to the port in Long Beach to get our hands on this car for the very first time. How many undocumented rust bubbles will be present on the car?
Whoa.
This is a good bet.
I have good faith in my boy too.
Did he get it right?
He nailed it.
Nailed it.
And he's handsome.
We'll find out. They sometimes have a different definition of rust than we do.
You know what? We did learn a few different things about Germany, how AC isn't universal. And Wasser doesn't guarantee you still water.
Well, sparkling water is better than still water anyway.
Like that's for you and Byron to enjoy. Me and Josh like that nice still water.
Still Wasser.
And Anthony. Gross!
Gross! And with our personal preferences for water out of the way, let's talk about how this whole story begins. If you're thinking this episode has nothing to do with an F40, well, it kind of does. You might recognize everybody in the car right now. Myself and Khalil, of course, and then we have Byron, Josh, and Anthony behind the camera. It's the exact same crew, minus Ryan, that went with me to Germany just a couple of months ago to pick up the V12 for my F40. While we were in Germany, I showcased some of our adventures. We stopped by to see our friends at H&R, we saw some F40s, we bought an engine, but we also paid a visit to our friends at BMW. While in Munich, we were lucky enough to receive an invite to BMW Classic. And if you're somehow new here thanks to the Ferrari projects, well, the truth is, at heart, I'm a BMW guy, and so is everybody else on this trip. So there was no chance we were going to pass up an opportunity like this. So if you're a BMW fan too, which I'm guessing you are if you clicked this thumbnail, buckle in because we're doing a deep dive. If we rewind to 16 years ago when StanceWorks began, it was just a group of kids on a BMW forum. It's where we got our start, and we've loved this mark ever since. I truly do believe that in one form or another, BMW is the ultimate driving machine, and thus receiving an invite to tour BMW Classic feels like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Behind these sacred walls are some of the rarest, most special, and most spectacular BMWs in history. From championship winners to cars that represent the first of their kind, to one-off prototypes you simply can't see anywhere else, there's something here for every BMW fan, and I'm excited to show you guys some of my favorites, cars that I've grown up seeing online but never thought I'd see in the flesh. The first car on that list is right here, BMW's Project Goldfish, an E32 7 Series made famous by the fact that it has a V16 crammed under the hood. Yes, 16 cylinders taking up so much engine bay space that the cooling system is in the trunk. Or maybe you remember BMW's X5 LM. It's not just an SUV wearing BBS Motorsport wheels, it's powered by the P75 V12, which not only pumps out 700 horsepower, it's derived directly from the McLaren F1 engine and powered the 1999 BMW V12 LMR at Le Mans. This car represents everything that I love about this brand, their willingness to really step out of the box and build some crazy stuff when those engineers are let loose. This was something I thought I'd only ever see in video, but here we were seeing it in person. As far as I recall, this was also my first opportunity to see one of the authentic Group A E24s clad in the original parts X-Ray livery. If you know me and some of the cars that I've built, you'll recognize this because I built a tribute to this specific car a number of years back in 2016. The E24 6 Series began racing in 1983, but few know that in 1982, BMW won the European Touring Car Championship with their E28 5 Series. So I built a tribute to both of these cars, and that means seeing this one holds a very special place in my heart. And then of course there's the workshop, where some truly spectacular things are going down. One of them being the restoration of a Benetton Formula One car powered by BMW's legendary turbocharged M12. This era of Formula One car is the most powerful in Formula One history, and legend has it that the M12 still holds the title at 1,500 horsepower in qualifying trim as the most powerful Formula One car ever made. It's hard to not let that overshadow the other gems in the workshop as well, such as this gorgeous M1 undergoing a restoration, the several Minis, or even the BMW 1800 Tisa sedan, which is about as rare as it gets. This trip to BMW Classic was not only exciting, but wildly inspiring as well. It got us thinking about this brand that turned us into car enthusiasts at the beginning. And for Khalil, it got him spending some time looking at the BMWs that Germany has and we do not. Now with all of that out of the way, let's get back to Southern California. Once we arrived home, Khalil felt compelled to order an E36 Touring to call his own, and now, a couple of months later, it has arrived and it's time to pick it up at the Port of Long Beach. We've all heard that the process of importing a car from a different country can be a huge hassle, especially with Californian regulations. I was expecting a lot of work for us to even get access to the vehicle itself, let alone acquiring the keys so that we can drive away with it. But believe it or not, we pulled up and this thing was parked on the street, ready to go. We had to show an ID, and that is it. Let's show people what you're actually here to get. Hopefully it's cool to everybody, and hopefully we don't get hit by a car. Khalil just snagged, what year is it?
97.
97 E36 Touring, pretty cool, pretty cool. Here, you put that on it. Tell the people what you got. Tell them everything. How did this happen?
What's up, YouTube? All right. I've wanted one of these for a while, but then we had a nice little quick trip to Germany a few months ago. And we saw a couple in person, and it cemented my want for one of these. So as soon as we got back,
Here we are, E36 Touring time.
we went on a hunt, and now it's here. So what's up, new daily driver?
And at this point, you'd think Khalil needs to prove some form of ownership or at least do something to clear customs, but nope, it's all already been taken care of. He had to show his ID, receive the keys, and while he did that, we decided to pour over the car and look at all the details. After all, it's imported from Europe, so as Californians, we're wondering how bad it might be.
Dude,
It's actually not bad anymore.
540. Done in 2020.
So is the brake fluid.
So it's a 2-liter?
Yeah. And the head's been done. You can actually tell. He just did the head.
You can tell by the way that it is,
No, it's shiny actually.
because of the pixels.
All right, so the body needs a little bit of work.
Well, there's nothing.
No oil?
I mean, it's a BMW. It's probably leaked it out.
What do you think so far?
It's as expected. It's a European car. We're not going to get a California car here. But overall, it's pretty solid. Only rust on pieces that can be unbolted. The body of the car looks pretty good, honestly.
So, a detail and then...
I'd be happy with it. So it's got no oil. It's the first thing to check. It's still got the cam cover on, so I can't see the condition of inside, but it needs at least 2 quarts. It might need more. No, from underneath the engine looks pretty dry, honestly.
Yeah, it looks reasonably good.
I'm pretty happy with that pour so far.
As expected.
What about gas?
All right.
Put some gas in it.
It'll also take another second to get.
I put 2 quarts in there and it's showing now, so it's 3 quarts low.
You want to throw the cap in there too? It looks great.
It's level good now.
It's cold too.
Yeah, I mean it was already up to the full line, so it'll continue for another moment. Yeah,
Perfect.
we're good.
I brought the exact amount.
On top of oil, it needs a bit of coolant, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed that perhaps it's just leaking out as opposed to burning it. The last thing we want from an imported car is to have a blown head gasket. But looking closely at the engine, it does look like there's some coolant seepage around the block, and I think we're probably going to get pretty lucky that this just needs a hose change.
Very, very excited. Car needs a little bit of work, which I expected. But I can't wait to get it all situated. And yeah, more bleeding. And just like make it my own, which on an E36 is really just bumpers, side skirts, some wheels, and then it looks cool, you know?
A wheel plan already in the works.
Yeah,
You've got some
wheels
SSRs
Yeah.
that I picked up for you.
Like 14 years ago.
Yeah, he's been keeping these wheels on ice. They're not cool enough to do that, but
We've had
they're
them.
on ice. So.
Yeah, and they should look really cool. And then, yeah, just a little bit of fixing here and there. Definitely the headliner, because why not? It's not as bad as I thought. Ah, they work.
300,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
What is that, 186?
That's not bad. This is my first Euro E36, actually, which
Say that
I'm
like
excited.
Euro cars are cooler than our.
Yeah, they are, except for that 2-liter M52, which I don't even know what I'm doing with that other than throwing it out.
What the cool part about that one is aluminum block.
It is aluminum block. It's a little lighter, and it makes up for the extra weight in the back.
Baby.
Dude, I have a Touring. Oh my God.
Somehow the door cards aren't sagging for an E36. That's kind of insane. It is a later model door card, so they hold up a little bit better, but no peeling, no lifting or anything. That's actually kind of crazy. The interior is a lot nicer than I thought it was going to be.
So initial impressions are that this car is actually pretty nice. The interior is in good shape, although the headliner is sagging, which is typical of an E36. And the exterior, although dirty, presents pretty well. It's got a bit of rust, but that's to be expected. It is from Europe after all, and we're spoiled here in Southern California. The worst of the rust is located on the rear tailgate and the rear subframe, both of which are replaceable parts, which means it's not a huge deal. The real question that remains, and the one we're all dying to know, is how is this thing actually going to run and drive?
All right, let's start this bad boy up. Woohoo! Hey!
It's going to be so much happier with oil in it now.
Yeah.
It's a little ticky. It's clean with oils in the back. Yeah, it had no oil in it.
Yeah.
It's also been sitting for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been sitting for a bit. Oh my God, it's so weird. Nah, this is cool.
How does it feel to be a long roof boy?
I don't know, dude, I'm excited.
When the roof matched the head?
Yeah, boy, it's slick, just like his car.
Not like his roof, though.
Was that you? I was like, what's falling off?
As soon as you fired it up, I was like, man, I wish the hood was popped. I'd go knock on the f***ing frame rail or something and...
I want to...
Oh, we did that.
This will come out. I just don't want to break it from you.
It's a cool center console.
I'm going to do the head. Yeah, this is annoying, but I'll fix that. It needs a detail. This is gross.
Dude, it's fine.
Gross!
Gross! Gross!
Gross!
Gross!
Like it's big?
Central locking works. I might need to put a battery in this. It's not doing anything. Headliner's not as bad as I thought, though. It's
I've
sagging.
seen way worse.
Yeah, I've seen worse.
I've owned way worse.
Yeah. I'm not gonna try the sunroof because no.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? There's not a single light on the dash, even with the lights on.
For now.
For now.
The car seems to run reasonably well, and that means it's time to try driving it home. Thankfully, the drive back to Costa Mesa is only about 45 minutes and it should be pretty straightforward. Back at the shop, we'll get it up on the lift and take a look at the underside because that remains the final missing piece of the puzzle. How much is going to need sorting, or how much rust might there be, or is it going to be good to go? Khalil bought this to be a daily driver, so he's going to want to get it sorted out sooner than later. Undoubtedly, there are going to be a lot of you wondering what it actually took to get this car imported to the United States. Even I was wondering how this process was going to pan out. Khalil found the car on Kleinanzeigen, relatively similar to Craigslist here in the United States, and we had a friend go look at it to make sure that it was indeed as advertised. With his approval, the car was paid for and then taken to a shipper. It was Nick Berry at Open Air Imports that handled everything from that point until it arrived in Long Beach. That includes all of the efforts of shipping, the customs paperwork, and anything else needed to get this car in our hands, and the process was literally as seamless as it could possibly be. As a price breakdown, Khalil paid $5,600 for the car and for Till's work to look at it and then pick it up and take it to the port. Shipping with Open Air Imports was another $5,100, putting him at $10,700 delivered. But to be clear, that doesn't include any of the registration costs or taxes he'll have to pay to get it roadworthy. It also doesn't include any of the money he'll have to spend in order to get this thing maintained so he can drive it to and from work every day.
Dude, let's go. Yo. The rockers are solid.
Engine mount arms aren't broken.
Yo, it's not that rusty under here. I don't know what happened here. Do you see anything bad? Okay, so that's okay. I expected that. That's from Germany. That's gonna be flaky. That I expected, so I'm gonna redo the whole subframe.
Fuel filter is leaking a little bit.
Oh, cool, okay, great. I'll order one of those.
Trans brace is not broken.
No. Selector set seals leaking.
E36 things.
What transmission is that?
It's a tiny one. That's like a Getrag 240. 220.
Wait, can I mount? I should be able to mount a ring. PowerFlex, it's getting PowerFlex bushings. So it's gonna have some nice upgrades soon. Not a sponsor, we just love their product. But also sponsor. Please sponsor.
So after poking around underneath the car, it's clear this thing has good bones. Chassis rust itself is at a minimum. The subframe needs replacing, but that's easy.
And then, yeah, I just want to build like a little ultimate daily touring. But body-wise, super solid. And that's the most important thing to me. I could care less if it was leaking oil or the clutch is slipping or the exhaust is falling off. I don't care, I could fix those. My biggest concern was the body. I wanted the body to be straight and mostly rust-free because I really didn't want to deal with any of the headaches. So I'm super happy overall. So this is awesome. I'm really stoked.
And day 2, I've stolen Khalil's key because I want to find out what a 2-liter M50 is all about. I want to drive this thing. I've never driven one of these. But on top of that, Khalil's stuck working a normal job, or some might say a real job, so we're going to steal the car for the day anyway. We're going to clean it out, wash it up, and kind of give it the treatment it deserves. And then I'm thinking we pull the wheels and tires off of my E36, throw them on here, turn the coils down and see how good we can make it look, and then surprise Khalil with it at the end of the episode. So let's get to it. This shift knob just came off. It's very hard to get into reverse. This car was also very clearly smoked in. Typical Germans. I don't know if that's typically German at all, but it sounds like it, so. Maybe we can make it not smell like cigarettes. To any potential car wash sponsors out there, this is my favorite activity. I love washing cars, and I want you to be a part of it. If you pay me. Yeah, there's a $250 tier on the StanceWorks Patreon, and with that, you get to see me do this in a bikini.
Sold.
All right, I'll be honest. I'm not one of those car enthusiasts that loves washing cars and finds it to be a therapeutic experience. Some folks get lost in the zen of washing their pride and joy, and that's just not me. But it doesn't mean we're not going to do a good job. We're going to put some time and effort in on Khalil's car and at least make this thing shine the way that it should, although at some point it'll be due for a full paint correction. Khalil, and Byron for that matter, over at Liked always seem to step in and help me out when I need it most, especially when there's some sort of time crunch to get a project done, or I just need something on a car fixed. So this feels like the bare minimum that we can do to step in and help him experience a new car with some level of excitement. We're not professional detailers, but we figured why not take the opportunity to clean the outside and the inside. As said in the beginning of the episode, this thing has a staggering 330,000 kilometers, or a bit over 200,000 miles on it, and it wears that mileage well, but a lot of gunk and grime has worked its way into the nook and crannies of this family sedan, and so we want to get it looking the way that it should. After some elbow grease, this thing is looking like even better of a deal. Khalil paid relatively average E36 pricing to have what is a very rare car here in the States. I think he did well. But now, I want to find out for myself what it's actually like to drive. Parts are falling off already. Of course, it starts raining the second we wash this thing. It's already getting filthy. Never rains in California, but it does now. Ugh, typical. And I also know that the driving experience for this is not going to be hugely unique. I'm not expecting it to drive spectacularly. I really just kind of want to know what a 2-liter M50 is all about, because that's kind of weird. I heard Khalil driving it on the way back from Long Beach, and it sounds like kind of cool. I'd be curious what it would sound like with like a well-done exhaust. But otherwise, it's kind of just a heavier E36, I guess? I don't know.
Could you, like, forget that it's a Touring if you were just driving it? Because it's just outside, right?
Yeah, I don't think that you'd really know that you were driving a different E36 if it wasn't pointed out to you. I would say that like maybe it feels a little bit heavier at the back end, even just like driving it around, but that's also probably just placebo effect, because I know that there's a whole back end back there that's not normally there. Plus, it's a sedan versus a coupe, and all of my E36 experience is in my two-door car, so overall, it definitely feels like an E36. If only it had a limited slip.
We wouldn't drift that, would we?
No, never. That would be... No, that'd be bad. Thankfully for this quick road test, we've got all these wonderful twisty back roads, aka industrial Costa Mesa grid system. We're not even going to get to like do anything cool in this. To do that, we'd have to drive like an hour out of town. And Khalil still needs to register this. It's technically not registered. It's temporarily insured, but hopefully that's not Costa Mesa PD behind us. No, we're good. We're good. It is remarkably slow. 2-liter M50, kind of gutless. Maybe like once you're up at like 6,000, it moves a little bit, but Khalil, we got to swap this thing ASAP. So let's be real for a second. This is, at the end of the day, just an E36. Even though it has a hatch and a long roof, there's nothing unique about the driving experience, and we knew that going in. What can be unique, though, is the way that it looks. This thing is a rare sight here in the States. There are a few around, but they are few and far between, and I think Khalil's excited at the opportunity to make this car his own. He's got an S50 or S52 swap in mind, and he's also got some SSR wheels that he wants to build. But both of those might be a little ways off. There's a lot of other things Khalil has to focus on, given that he did just get married a few weeks ago. But in the interim, I figured why not at least get some inspiration going and throw the E87s from my E36 onto the wagon, lower it down a bit, and see how it looks. I mean, we already know how it's going to look. It's going to look sick, but Given that these wagons are just normal cars everywhere they're available, it's not what most enthusiasts go for, and so it's pretty rare to see one done up, especially on BBS Motorsport wheels. To be honest, I don't think this is going to fit at all. My car has camber plates, and I guess realistically that's it, but it doesn't look like it's going to clear. I mean, it's kind of fits. All right, let's be real here. These wheels do not fit without camber plates in the front and camber arms in the back. But regardless, they still look reasonably good. So let's throw the rear on and see what the whole package looks like. Some of you probably noticed that the ride height of the car is a bit stink bugged. The rear end sits pretty high, so we decided to turn the coilovers down just a touch, but it took some mechanical motivation, if you will. These things are seized up. H&R, you gotta save our boy right now. Now let's try that. It's probably about as low as it can go without just wrecking your shit.
I gotta cut them.
You definitely have to come down in the front.
I think the rears would come in a little bit.
Oh. Yeah, so camber plates in the front will fix that. And camber, yeah, these will fit. Dude, that's sick.
It does look sick.
Dude, that looks fucking dope. I mean, I knew it was gonna look sick, but that looks sick.
I like the beefy tires though.
Yeah, I do too.
Even if we all admit that the wheels and tires don't really fit on the car, we can still admire that it's going to look good at some point, and this entire endeavor just reminds me of the old StanceWorks days, hanging out in the shop, tinkering with a car, and dialing it in. No crazy builds, no crazy fabrication, no crazy budgets, just good old-fashioned car enthusiasm with friends. But of course, this episode does need at least one bit of quote-unquote fabrication, and that's the holes in the front bumper trim. I decided to 3D print some textured plugs to go in the holes, and turns out my textured plate for my bamboo printer is an exact match for the trim. So I printed out a couple of pieces over the course of 7 minutes, glued them into place, and while it's a small fix, I'm really thrilled with the result, and this is the perfect application for a 3D printer. It took 2 minutes to draw these up and a few minutes to print, and voila, problem solved. These things look great. So all of the finishing touches are done. Let's take this thing down the street and really see what it looks like. So it's safe to say it needs a little bit of fine-tuning, but this is going to be one really cool daily for Khalil. He's been talking about this thing for months, and now that it's finally here, I'm stoked to see this thing driving in and out of the shop parking lot every day. Now in 2024, 10 grand is the new 5 grand, and it's hard to find anything really cool that you can rely on day to day to drive for under that $10,000 price point. I think if that's what you have to spend, it would be really hard to do cooler than this. It's reasonably well sorted, reasonably reliable, and if you're a BMW enthusiast, you're gonna flip your lid when you see it going down the street. I know this thing won't be for everyone, and the Europeans will probably be scratching their heads why we're so excited about a wagon, but for Khalil, well, it's cool to have a Cosmos wagon to match his Cosmos wide-body coupe. It's not every day you get to have your daily driver and your track car as a matching pair, but Khalil is doing it, and he's doing it well. I think we're all guilty of letting a project car sit a bit longer than it should. And the M3 has been parked for quite some time, but I'm hopeful the wagon will give him a bit of motivation, not only to build it, but to get the M3 back out and on track too. Part of that's on me. I've got to get the 244 out to Buttonwillow, so in due time, hopefully we'll see Khalil on track with us, and we'll see a bit of progress on the touring. Until then, I'll catch you guys in the next one.